Good afternoon, and welcome to Schoolboy Row Field here in El Dorado, Arkansas. And a rather special game here today as we're going to be playing the first game of the Fall World Series. Teams have been drafted by players that have been designated as team captains. And so, real quickly, before we kind of get going with home plate meetings and everything else, we're going to introduce both lineups for the day. So the starting nine for the Jags, the just average guys. On the mound for them today, starting it off, will be Will Turner, one of the freshmen on the squad this year. He'll be getting the starting nod here in game one. And right below him is the starting lineup. Starting with the shortstop, Alex Showalter. Batting in the two-hole is Tanner Powell playing center field. Behind the plate and batting third will be freshman Gavin Murphy. And batting in the cleanup spot will be the right fielder Dawson Szymanski, transfer from BR. Right behind him will be the co-captain for the Jags, Bo Kutencooler. He'll be at third base this game. At first base will be Cade Abear, and playing left field will be Fletcher Williams, a redshirt freshman. And following him will be freshman Ian McCubbin playing second base. And rounding out the lineup for the Jags will be Yadi Canales, and he'll be the DH. And now we'll take a quick look at the second team that's been drafted here today, the East Atlanta Santas. Their captains are sophomore John Dempscher and redshirt sophomore Kyle Tolley. On the mound for them here in game one will be Austin Hillebrandt. Hillebrandt, a transfer from Champion Christian. He'll get the starting nod here in game one for the East Atlanta Santas. And right below him will be the starting lineup. Batting leadoff and playing short will be Kenner Lauterbach. After him will be the co-captain Kyle Tolley playing center field. In the three spot, Jake Ambrose, one of the lone players from the Stars team last year to receive all-region honors. Batting cleanup will be Justin Szymanski. He'll be playing first base. And a little fun sibling rivalry here is Szymanski brothers find themselves on opposing teams. After that will be sophomore Ty Simonelli playing left field. And Cam Laverne will be DH here in the first game. After him will be Al Gatson playing second base. And after him will be Cade Rohde in right. And rounding out the lineup will be freshman Scooter Anderson at third base. So we've yet to have home plate meetings, but this is game one of the Fall World Series for the South Arkansas Stars. Your captains for the Jags will be Bo Kutencooler and Brett Foss. And your captains for the East Atlanta Santas will be John Dempscher and Kyle Tolley. So just kind of the way that this is going to work, it will be 9-inning game. Teams have pretty much been split up kind of evenly through a draft format earlier this week. And the pitching captains, John Dempscher and Brett Foss, will typically be in charge of their starters and bullpen usage for the next 2 or 3 games that we play. And the position player captains Kyle Tolley and Bo Kutencooler will be in charge of the lineups, pinch hitting, defensive substitutions, things like that. And we're roughly about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes from first pitch here, as we're probably going to be having the home plate meeting with Coach Lester and the co-captains here pretty soon. And looks like we have one of our pitchers running out here with a camera. So we'll see what this is all about here in a second. And so as we get ready, team's starting to warm up a little bit. So the Jags, they will be in maroon for this first game, and the East Atlanta Santas will be in the cream uniforms. They'll be down the third baseline. And I do believe the home team will be the Jags here in the first game. And so the format for this series is a best of 3 set. The first 2 games will be played like a regular 9-inning baseball game. At any point, if either team runs out of pitching or decides not to bring in a pitcher for a certain situation, the hack attack pitching machine will be brought out and will be set to the batter's liking. So they can opt to not bring in a pitcher for a certain inning if they want to try and save their pitching for tomorrow or the next day. And the pitching machine will be set to whatever the batters think is their best chance to hit as many baseballs as possible. Kind of the first time that we've done that, so it'll be interesting to see the kind of different strategies that both teams employ. And umpiring these games will be head coach Coach Lester and the pitching coach Hayden Dow. I believe Coach Lester will be umpiring from behind the pitcher's mound for this first game, and Hayden Dow will be umpiring the second one from behind the pitcher's mound. And also, among many firsts today, the first time that we're going to be able to broadcast from a center field camera view here at home. I'm currently camped out in the middle of center field, so we're gonna see how this goes together. And at this point, we're also going to check and see, just kind of do some quick tests to make sure everything's working. But looks like we're going to have our home plate meeting now. Teams were drafted on Monday between the 4 captains. And so pretty much ever since the draft, both teams pretty much talking as much smack towards each other as they possibly can. And also, just for your knowledge as well as the players, if anybody except the captains talks to the umpires about a call, they are subject to be thrown out of the game, and as a result of that, also have to sit out the next game as well. So we're going to do a quick test here to make sure one of our graphics is working. I got a whole lot of money. Like it is. So. And unlike some of our previous broadcasts, we are able to kind of monitor the live chat. So if something stops working or there's a certain problem, if you type it in the chat, we should be able to correct it pretty quickly, just so that everybody is aware. And while we wait pretty much for first pitch to take place, I'll go ahead and leave out the home team, the Jags, their lineup. That way you can kind of familiarize yourself with the team. And as we kind of finish up home plate meetings, some last words uh, shared by both captains. And unlike most of the other games that the Stars have played this fall, the pitcher and catcher will be responsible for calling their own pitches instead of relying on signs from the dugout. So, a real chance to shine for the catchers here in this series to call a complete game and kind of showcase their skills as a full-fledged catcher. And looks like we are minutes away from first pitch as looks like the East Atlanta Santas will be the home team as the Jags are warming up in the on-deck circle. So it would appear that the East Atlanta Santas will be taking the field first. And the Jags actually stands for just average guys. Your guess is as good as mine as why they would want that to be their team name. But it is what it is. Gotta love team captains. And hopefully periodically throughout the game we can have a couple interviews with some players as they go throughout the game. And taking the mound now for the East Atlanta Santas, just coming into view, will be Austin Hillebrandt. Hillebrandt, a transfer from Champion Christian in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Play a lot of their games in the same spot as National Park Junior College. And Hillebrandt, really a plethora of different pitches that he likes to go to. Really just likes to try to understand hitters and understand their individual weaknesses and kind of pitch to that. He likes to boast that he's confident in pretty much every pitch that he throws. So we'll see how often he goes to each pitch, depending on what batter that he's facing at the time. And so, quick reminder of the infield and outfield for the East Atlanta Santas. At first base, Cam Laverne. Second base, Al Gatson. At shortstop, freshman Kenner Lauterbach. And at third base will be another freshman, Scooter Anderson. And in left to right, it'll be Ty Simonelli, Kyle Tolley, and Cade Rohde. Of course, Tolley probably only about 20 yards away from the broadcast booth today. So I'm sure if he gets bored, he might try and say something. But anyway, looks like warm-ups are pretty much over at this point. And also working on behalf of the broadcast booth today is Logan Gibson. He'll be videoing from either dugout, trying to get the players as much film as they can and see how they can improve. But with that, Alex Showalter will step into the bat. And he'll square around for the first pitch. He pops it up. And Hillebrandt will make the play as he slides on his knees to get the catch. And that's a one pitch out recorded from Hillebrandt. And another key factor in this game will be pitch count. Most of the pitchers on the SouthArk staff for this Fall World Series are under a strict pitch limit of 50. And they cannot pitch in two different games. So once they've entered the game, they're pretty much done for the rest of the series. And the first pitch called outside by Coach Lester. So 1-0 count. And that one's going to run in and get him. And so it'll be a 1-out hit by pitch. And the Jags have their first base runner of the day. And they'll bring in the 3-hole Gavin Murphy as Tanner Powell gets his lead from second base. And he'll foul tip that one as that one runs back into Ambrose behind home plate. 0-1 the count. And that pitch a little outside, and Ambrose will throw it down to second, and Powell is able to get there in time. So 1-1 count now as Tanner Powell moves up another 90 feet. And this is pretty much exactly what the Jags could have hoped for. And now a balk being called by Coach Lester. So another free 90 feet for Tanner Powell on the bases. And one of the things that Brett Foss mentioned to me before the game is the Jags' game plan to really try and get inside the head of Hillebrandt early. And looks like it's worked so far as the ground out to the shortstop. And Kenner Lauterbach in and out of the glove. And what will no doubt be scored as an error. But Murphy will reach base safely. And the Jags are on the board first with their first run of the Fall World Series. No hit recorded yet. And already a run for the Jags. And first pitch swinging from Szymanski, as it'll be a 0-1 count. And the Jags' game plan so far paying off, as that one gets away from Ambrose behind home plate, and Murphy will move up another free 90 feet. So 3 free bases already for the Jags off of mishandled baseballs and, quite frankly, mental errors. So runner on second, 0-1 count, and 1 out. And another pitch swung on. That one looked to be a little bit of a breaking ball. 0-2 the count. As Szymanski gets ready. And he will take strike 3 looking for the second out of the inning. So 2 outs now. And if Hillebrandt can really just limit the inning to just 1 run here, it'll most likely be seen as a victory as the first pitch taken for strike 1. And at the plate now is the co-captain for the Jags, Bo Kutencooler. As he swings at that one, looked to be a changeup in the dirt. 0-2 the count. And Kutencooler, one of the only stars so far off the board as far as recruiting is concerned. He'll be playing next fall at the University of Arkansas in Monticello as he swings on strike 3 to end the inning. So as we head to the bottom of the first, the Jags already on the scoreboard, 1-0 on a hit by pitch, an error, and let's see, that's about it. Couple strikeouts for Hillebrandt after giving up the run. And coming out to pitch now for the Jags will be Will Turner. Will's had a pretty good fall this year. One of the more consistent guys in the Stars pitching staff. And you got to think that Brett Foss is actually pretty excited for this matchup after the way the first inning went. And we'll see how John Dempscher can kind of settle his pitcher as they get to kind of take a little quick breath and reset before coming back out for the second inning. And quick reminder of the Jags fielding lineup. Behind the plate is Gavin Murphy. At first will be Cade Hebert. At second will be Ian McCubbin. At short, Alex Showalter. And at third base, Bo Kutencooler. And in the outfield from left to right will be Fletcher Williams, Tanner Powell, and Dawson Szymanski. 1 second, everybody. Fletcher wants to say hi. There he is. Good thing Fletcher's able to play today. The last little bit of games that we played, he had a pretty hard slide into second base. And we're happy that he's able to take the field today after taking yesterday off. And as you can see, Will Turner finishing up. And the quick throw down from Murphy. So the top of the order coming up for the East Atlanta Santas. And they'll look to respond after surrendering the first run of the series. And the first pitch taken for strike one. And even count now is that one low. 1-1. And Kenner has been leading off for the Stars for the most part of the fall, as that one is swung on and fouled back. 1-2 now. And that one's going to be low and outside, so 2-2 the count. Everything back even. And that one grounded over to the second baseman. McCubbin dives, and the throw to first will be in time, as they will have their first out of the series. And a diving play from McCubbin at second base saves the hit. And they'll bring in the two-hole now, co-captain Kyle Tolley for the East Atlanta Santas. And first pitch swinging on the changeup. 0-1 the count. And that one going to be called up by Coach Lester. 1-1 the count. And fastball bounces on its way to home plate, and that'll run things to 2-1 for Tolley. So after some first pitch swinging, a little bit more disciplined for the rest of the at-bat, and we'll see if that continues. That one lined over to the third baseman, and it will be called fair as Fletcher Williams runs over into the left field corner, and Tolley will be safe at second base. So a one-out double for Tolley gets the East Atlanta Santas on the bases, and they'll have their first hit of the Fall World Series. And Tanner Powell out here in center field. The lone run so far here in the series. And the 3-hole now coming up for the East Atlanta Santas. And that one bounces away from Murphy, and it gets pretty far away from him as Tolley moves up another 90 feet. So a pretty similar situation as the East Atlanta Santas now have a runner on third with just one out. And that one swung on and missed for strike one. And at the dish right now is Jacob Ambrose, the other catcher. And he bounces that one foul down the third baseline. So a 1-2 count now. And Ambrose, the all-region catcher in Region 2 last year. One of the few members of the Stars roster last year to earn all-region honors. And they're going to call the breaking ball outside that time, as that evens things up at 2 apiece. And that one grounded down the third base line. It's called fair once again. Fletcher in the left field corner. And Ambrose makes his way to second base as the throw is mishandled by Showalter. And that will bring in the East Atlanta Santa's game-tying run. And they will have a runner at second base with just one out. And so far, two balls pretty much grounded right down the third baseline out of reach from Cootencooler. And they'll bring in the cleanup hitter, Justin Szymanski, for the East Atlanta Santas. And I believe that one is going to be called up for ball one. And that one's going to find the zone. 1-1 the count now. And that one's going to find the zone as well, as Szymanski waiting for the 1-2 now after two straight strikes right down the middle. And that one swung on and fouled back. So things will stay where they're at, 1-2. And really this is kind of what you'd like to see if you're the opposing team, trying to see as many pitches as possible with the pitch limit coming into play. And so the more pitches you can kind of waste and foul off, the less time the starter, or any pitcher for that fact, has in the game. As that one's going to be low and evens things up at 2 apiece. So the 6th pitch of the at-bat for Szymanski coming up. And that one's going to be low. And that runs the count full, 3-2 now. And Szymanski seeing a lot of pitches here in the first, and this is really just not what you want to see from your pitching staff early on in the series. And another pitch fouled off. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. And I'm sure if Szymanski could have his way, he'd love to see at least 10 and really just kind of drive the pitch count as far north as he can with just this at-bat. And that one will be strike 3, looking as Turner now gets his second out. So 2 outs now as Ambrose stands on second base. And that'll bring in the 5-hole now for the East Atlanta Santas. Ty Simonelli. Simonelli playing in left field in this one. And that one is going to be called outside. 1-0 the count. And Simonelli really starting to figure things out here in the late part of the fall, as he'll take that one for ball 2. So the 2-0 now to Simonelli coming up. And 3-0 count now as that one's outside. And that one fouled straight back. 3-1 now the count, as Simonelli had a hack at that one. And that one's going to be ball 4 as it gets away from Murphy. And Ambrose takes off for third base and will be safe. So there'll be runners at the corners now with 2 out. And the pitch count for Will Turner starting to go up and up. And looks like we're going to have time called as Brett Foss heads out to the mound to have a word with his pitcher. And likely really just trying to remind him, hey, you got to fill up the zone. And at this point, really just kind of let them get themselves out. Anyway, we'll have a quick intermission as Foss heads back off the mound and things start to resume play. And so now batting will be the will be the designated hitter Cam Laverne. Laverne, the other first baseman on the roster, this game designated hitting, as that one gets over into second base hole, and then we'll get into right field. And a run will score as Szymanski pretty much just runs it in himself. And the Santas now take the lead with runners at first and second and 2 out. And some first pitch swinging from Laverne gets him an easy pitch to hit and takes it to Oppo Gap. And they'll bring in the second baseman now, Al Gatson. And that one low, and Murphy able to keep it in front of him. 1-0 the count. And Gatson really been figuring things out as well this fall. Had some really good games the last couple of weeks, as that one looks to be inside as well. 2-0 the count. And that one grounded down to the third baseman. Kutencooler has it on the move, and the throw to first will be in time as Hebert picks it out the ground for the third out. And so we will head to the top of the second. The score 2-1 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas, following a pretty long inning for Will Turner. And so as we get ready here for the top of the second, score 2-1 East Atlanta Santas, and a good response as it looks like there's some action going on in the Jags bullpen. Looks like Ethan Richey might be getting his arms loose with the J-Bands a little bit. And Richey, one of the other kind of big pitchers in the Jags pitching staff for this series. And at this point, it really must just be based off of how many pitches Will Turner had to use in that last inning. And coming up to bat for the Jags will be the first baseman, Cade Hebert. So Hebert coming up to hit. And first pitch swinging, and it'll be into the left field foul territory and out of play for Simonelli. So an 0-1 count. And we'll have a quick interview with Kyle Tolley real quick. KT, left hand for Rangers, right hand for D-backs. And there you have it, Kyle Tolley predicting that the Rangers will win the World Series tonight. And that one going to be outside from Hillebrandt. And curveball that time bounces right in front of the plate on Hebert. So 2-2 the count. And that will be strike 3 as they get him on just 5 pitches in the AB. And first pitch swing from Fletcher Williams. So 0-1 the count now to Williams. And Hillebrandt working pretty much a little bit quicker than it was last inning as he gets another swing and a miss. So a quick 0-2 count, and Hillebrandt starting to work pretty quick now as he has Williams in a quick 0-2 count. And that one low and away. Try to get him to chase a little bit on the cutter. 1-2 the count. And another one pretty much in the same spot, just a little bit farther up. Still called outside. 2-2. And that one right down Main Street as it freezes Fletcher. And 2 quick outs for Hillebrandt. And this is pretty much what you'd love to see after the rough first inning that he had. And whatever Dempster might have said to him in the dugout really seems to have stuck. And the first pitch going to be outside for ball 1. And at the dish now for the Jags is Ian McCubbin. And that one catches just enough of the plate, and that evens things up at 1 apiece. And that one grounded back up the middle. It's off Hillebrandt's glove, and there will be no throw to first from Gatson as he picks it up about the same time McCubbin gets to first base. And really nothing you can do as Hillebrandt tried to make the play himself and just unable to get there. And they'll bring in the 9-hole and designated hitter Yadi Canales for the Jags. And he'll take the first pitch outside. So after a quick 2 outs for Hillebrandt on the mound, it surrenders a runner to first base. And the runner will take off for second. The throw is in time, and he will have him at second base as McCubbin not too happy with the call. Nevertheless, he's been caught stealing, and that will end the inning. So we'll head to the bottom of the second. The score still 2-1 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas, and really just gifted Hillebrandt the opportunity to save some of his pitches for the third inning, as he'll face the 9-1-2 for the Jags next inning. And so Will Turner coming back out on the mound for the Jags, and it'll be pretty rare to see anybody in this series not go their full 50 pitches with how limited some of these guys will be. As I mentioned before the broadcast, anytime a pitcher is unable to go for either team, the hack attack will be out there really just throwing meatballs for the other team. So in that case, if it ever comes to that, it'll probably be a laser show. And so as we get ready here for the bottom half of the second, Turner already using a multitude of his pitches, and most of the lineups pretty much already seen his entire repertoire. So we'll see how many more times he can go out there and really try and fool these batters. And coming up to bat will be the right fielder, Cade Rohde. Rohde, a freshman. And he will take the first pitch outside for ball 1. And in a Fall World Series like this, trying to drive up pitch count is really probably your best strategy for success, as he takes that one 2-0. And so, I mean, if you feel real confident with yourself, oh, that one's lined into the right center gap. It's going to get down, and Tanner Powell will have it. He'll throw it into second base, and Rohde will be up with a stand-up double to start the inning for the East Atlanta Santas. So their 4th hit of the ball game, and really pretty much picking up where they left off after the way last inning went. And coming up to bat will be the 9-hole Scooter Anderson. And he will square around to bunt, and he will push it down the first baseline. It's going to be foul as Turner waits for it to cross into foul territory before touching it. So 0-1 count for Turner. And what would have likely been called a strike. Just unable to push it down that first baseline and move Rhodey over. And we'll see if Dempster calls for a bunt again. And he will let him swing. It's up the middle. It's off Turner's glove. And there will be no throw as everybody will be safe once again. So runners at the corners and nobody out for Turner. And that comebacker just off his glove and slowed it down just enough to where neither middle infielder could get to it in time to throw it to first base. And likely see the triple option in play here. And the bunt. And it is taken back as that one's in the dirt. 1-0 the count. And Dempster doing a pretty good job on the offensive side of things calling the game. And he will let him swing away. 1-1 the count. So Lauterbach stands in the box and looks like they'll just opt to swing it away. As that one's grounded to the third baseman, it's off Cooten-Cooler's glove, and everybody will be safe after the fielding error. And you can call it luck, bad luck, or being good or not good, but either way, things are not bouncing the Jags' way here in the second inning. So bases loaded, nobody out for Turner, and Kyle Tolley steps in. The captain takes ball one here in the AB, and he came around to score in his first at-bat. And that one lined into left field, and Fletcher will have it in the left field corner. He'll throw it in, and the throw home, not in time. The runner moves up, and he's caught in between second and third. And Lauterbach, the ball hits him, and he's heading for third. And there will be runners at second and third now following that bit of chaos. And 2 runs will come around to score. So the score now 4-1 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas. And nobody out here for Will Turner. And, I mean, at this point, you've got to try and do something. And looks like Foss is going to be coming out to have a word with Turner, as he's pretty much reaching the highest part of his pitch limit. He can probably face a few more guys before they have to go to the bullpen. But looks like they've got a couple guys throwing in their bullpen. So Tolley standing on second base following that bit of chaos, and Lauterbach able to get to third as well. And they'll bring in the catcher, Jacob Ambrose, with 2 runners in scoring position and nobody out. And this is pretty much the situation where he thrives. Does a real good job of getting runners in, especially with the sac fly, as he takes that one for ball 1. And another one low. 2-0 the count now to Ambrose. And that one grounded at the third baseman. The throw to first will be in time, and the runners will stay at second and third as the Jags record their first out here in the second. So cleanup hitter Justin Szymanski steps in. And that one's going to be up and in for ball 1. And that one swung on and fouled into, and that's going to be a grounder towards the third baseman. And the throw to first not in time, and they tried to catch the runner rounding a little bit too hard at third base. And that one's not going to be in time either. And so another pretty much bloop hit for the East Atlanta Santas as a run comes in to score. 5-1 now in favor of the East Atlanta Santas. And that'll bring in the left fielder, Ty Simonelli. And this inning pretty much been the Jags' undoing as that fastball is up for ball one. And that one's going to be low as well. 2-0 the count. And warming up in the Jags bullpen is number 38 or 39, Bryce McGuire, as that one swung on and missed for 2-1. McGuire pretty much deemed the first guy out of the pen for the Jags, and they would have liked to go to him a little bit later in the contest, as that one's lined into right field, and another run will come in to score. Szymanski heading for third, and it looks like Dawson Szymanski had a little bit of trouble with the ball. And so another run comes in to score, 6-1 now. And it looks like there was a bit of a miscommunication with the second baseman getting it in. And Foss will head out to the mound, and that will be the end of Will Turner's day for the Jags. And coming in to warm up now and pitch will be Bryce McGuire. And the East Atlanta Santas have done a good job of getting to the Jags bullpen as quickly as possible here in the first game. And that'll likely pay dividends later in today's game and tomorrow. And there's a multitude of different strategies that kind of go into a series like this. And it pretty much all starts with your drafting strategy. And when pitch counts come involved, things get pretty complicated pretty quick. On the Jags roster is 8 different pitchers, whether they're two ways or just pitcher only. There's 8 different pitchers, and 6 of them have a 50 pitch limit, and 2 of them have a 30 pitch limit. Meanwhile, the East Atlanta Santas have, I believe, 7 on their roster, and all of their pitchers have a 50 pitch limit. So really, the Jags only have a 10 pitch advantage when it's all said and done. And the quicker you can take away that advantage, no matter how small it may be, the better the series is going to go down the long run. And so we'll get ready to return to action here as Cam Laverne steps up to bat. It'll be base runners at the corners with 1 out here in the bottom of the second. And Laverne a single his last time up over in the 2-hole or the 4-hole, as he'll take that one for ball 1. And McGuire, not so much going to blow you away with his velo, but really understands hitter psychology and likes to play around with a couple different of his pitches and deliveries, as that one's taken for strike 1. And if they can keep McGuire in the stretch, that'll kind of limit his unpredictability, we'll call it. As that one low, 2-1 the count. And runner takes off on the hit and run, and Laverne fouls that one straight back, as that runs the count even at 2-2. And the changeup that time catches the outside corner for strike 3. And McGuire has a quick strikeout to kind of settle himself into this ball game. And as you can see, right back on the mound, ready to go, as Gatson steps up to bat. And one of the previous scrimmages, this matchup took place, as that one catches the zone. McGuire quick pitch Gatson all 3 pitches and really had no shot at the plate, as that one is outside, 1-1. And so if you couldn't tell, as Gatson got into the box, he immediately looked up to make sure that McGuire wasn't going to be doing that again. And fastball swung on and missed. So 1-2 the count. And the Jags just 1 strike away from getting out of this inning and trying to scratch their way back. And that one will be strike 3 on the outside corner as Gatson takes the lonely walk back down to third base dugout. So we'll head to the top of the third. Score now 6-1 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas after just a long inning on the mound for the Jags pitching staff. And something like that really puts Brett Foss and the rest of the staff in a tough position. Foss likely spending pretty much the rest of that inning just trying to figure out what to do next. And likely that just did not go to plan at all. So we'll see a little bit of his managerial skills and see how he can manage his pitching staff for the remainder of the series. And as you can see, Hillebrandt back out on the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. And if Hillebrandt can have 1 or 2 more quick innings and try and keep that pitch count as low as he can, that'll really put the East Atlanta Santas in a good position to not only win the ball game but also head into Game 2 with a pretty good advantage in the pitching staff department. And due up for the Jags is the 9-1-2 hole as Yadi Canales comes up to bat. And the first pitch taken for strike 1 as really just probably looking for fastball and got changeup there. And curveball that time taken for strike 2. And Hillebrandt not wasting any time. And the fastball runs in and hits Canales on an 0-2 count. And pretty much the worst case scenario in that point, as you never want to really hit the batter, and especially in an 0-2 count. So Canales heads down to first base, and really the only silver lining here is Canales not the quickest on the base paths, so likely not going to be stealing, as that one is away from Ambrose. 1-0 the count now for Showalter, as he'll look to get things started. Another pitch away, and Canales stays put at first base, not really trying to try his luck right now. And that fastball is going to be called up. 3-0 the count now to Showalter. And we'll see if the Jags kind of adopt that strategy that the East Atlanta Santas had last inning of trying to see as many pitches as possible before getting a result. So 3-1 the count now following the first pitch or the fastball. That one's lined into right field, and it's going to get down into fair territory. Showalter rounding first, heading for second. The throw is not in time as Showalter called safe at second base, and Canales able to make his way to third. And a good way to start the top of the third for the Jags after a long second inning. 2 runners in scoring position, nobody out. And that'll bring in the 2-hole Tanner Powell for the Jags. And really probably anything in the outfield scores a run at least, and maybe 2, as that one is hit into right field or left field, and they're going to be calling that one fair as well. And 2 runs will come around to score on the double from Tanner Powell. And just like that, there's life once again in the Jags dugout. So the score now 6-3 as he's able to cut the East Atlanta Santas lead in half. And a runner on second with nobody out. And that'll bring in Gavin Murphy, the catcher. And he will take the curveball outside 1-0. Murphy, one of the surprise stories as the runner takes off for third and no throw from Ambrose behind home plate. And another free 90 feet for the Jags. 2-0 the count. And like I said, Murphy, one of the surprise stories, as well as many other freshmen on the Stars roster, as that one taken high. Really changed a lot of his approach and swing at the plate and found a couple things that worked for him halfway through the fall. And ever since, it's been a completely different story as he flies one out to center field. And Powell will stay put at third base as Tolley gets it in a hurry. And that'll be the first out. Tolley, one of the founding members of the Stars baseball roster, been here all 3 years of his existence, as well as other co-captain, Bo Kutencooler. And that one's lined into 4-hole and into right field. It bounces off Rhodey, and he will get it in, but not after the Jags score their 4th run of the contest. And Szymanski will be standing on first following the single. And that'll bring in co-captain Bo Kutencooler. And no shortage of offense in this one, as Kutencooler looked to have started to square around but pulled back when he saw the pitch was going to be inside. 1-0 the count. And interesting decision to bunt, or even kind of feint the bunt attempt, as that one's outside again. 2-0. Really likely just trying to test Anderson at third base in a game situation, as that one is called inside, and a 3-0 count now for Kutencooler. And the fastball that time right down Main Street for the first strike of the AB. 3-1 the count. And Kutencooler swings on that one, and it will be a soft liner to Gatson at second base for the second out of the inning. So 2 outs now. And that'll bring in the first baseman and lefty, Cade Hebert. And Dempster walking out to have a word with his pitcher. And looks like that Hillebrandt has reached his pitch count limit. And looks like they're bringing in a lefty from the bullpen, freshman Bryce Lopez, coming in to pitch. And a real opportune time as Hillebrandt was able to get through the right-handed part of the lineup for Lopez to come and face a lefty. And Hillebrandt still probably saying like he'd like to go a little bit further, but he will hand the ball over to Lopez. And Cade Hebert at the plate really has not caught a break all fall. Pretty much every at-bat he's had has been against left-handed pitching. And looks like he'll be getting some more of the same here, as he'll be going up against Bryce Lopez. Lopez sits in the mid-80s with his fastball, but really what sets himself apart from many others is his curveball. On the Rapsodo, almost 3,000 RPMs on average. And so we'll see how Hebert tries to handle the big curveball from the big lefty. Tie. Wave. And so when it's all said and done for Hillebrandt, he will have gone 2 2/3 innings here and surrendered 4 runs. Not sure how many of them earned off the top of my head. Defense has committed 1 error behind him. And as it stands right now, he will get the win, but he will have to hope that both bullpens really shut everybody down. And the likelihood of that happening is not very high after the way that things have gone here today. And we'll get ready to start play here once again in the 3rd inning as Hebert steps up to the plate. And there's the curveball as that one catches the zone. And not really sure where Hebert was trying to go to get away from that curveball. And likely going to see it again. And the curveball, the throw to second, is not in time as Lauterbach unable to get the tag on Szymanski at second base. And he will move up 90 feet. And think the curveball was called a ball, so 1-1 the count as Szymanski gets his lead from second. And it's been a tough day behind the plate for Ambrose, pretty uncharacteristic of him. And that one going to be called up. 2-1 the count now to Hebert. And really would like to go ahead and finish the inning here with a lefty-lefty matchup if you're the East Atlanta Santas. Probably the best chance you're going to get. And the curveball hangs on him, and Hebert, hit by the pitch, will head down to first base. So runners at first and second, and the lefty-lefty matchup has been wasted. And that'll bring in Fletcher Williams, the left fielder for the Jags. They'll have runners at first and second now with 2 outs. And likely not going to see another lefty batter here for a while. So you'd like to see Lopez try and pitch to contact and get out of things pretty quick, as that one catches the outside part of the plate for strike 1. And fastball that time catches the inside part of the plate. 0-2 the count now to Williams. And Lopez 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning. And the fastball swung on and missed for strike 3. And that will end the inning, or in the top half of the 3rd. So we'll head to the bottom of the 3rd. The score now 6-4 following the 3 runs from the Jags offense. And we'll see how McGuire fares against the East Atlanta Santas offense, as he'll be able to work from his windup. And this is when you're really going to see him try and toy with hitters, changing their timing, pitch slot, pitch. And he has a multitude of pitches that he likes to use, but then also 3 different really default timings he likes to use from his windup. He's got his regular windup, a quick windup, and then a quick pause that he'll hold at the top of his leg kick. And I mean, really, it gives hitters fits left and right. So we'll see how the hitters fare against him as he gets to work from his preferred method. And due up will be the right fielder, Cade Rohde, for the East Atlanta Santas. And the first pitch fouled out of play. 0-1 the count. And there's the pause we were talking about, as that one is swung on and fouled back. So a quick 0-2 count for McGuire here. And there's the quick pitch. And he will strike him out on the curveball on 3 pitches for the first out here in the bottom of the third. And that's exactly what you'd love to see if you are Brett Foss. 3 pitches, 1 strikeout, and little to no fuss whatsoever. And another quick pitch taken for strike 1. 0-1 the count, and ready to go once again. And here's the pause. And the changeup that time is going to be outside. 1-1 now for McGuire. And that one runs in and hits Scooter, as they will have the 9-hole on base. And they'll bring in Kenner Lutterbach with 1 out. And the changeup that time taken right down the middle for strike 1. And with how fast Lauterbach is, he'll probably be able to beat out the double play, as that one's lined deep into center field. And Powell makes the play, ranging back towards the wall for the second out of the inning. And the runner will stay put at first base. So 2 outs now for McGuire after the amazing play from Tanner Powell in center field. If he wasn't 6'7", I don't know that he would have made it there. And first pitch fouled back. 0-1 the count. And Kyle Tolley now hitting for the East Atlanta Santas. And he will take the changeup down Main Street. 0-2 now. And McGuire just 1 strike away from getting through the inning. And that one's lined into right field. And it will be called foul by Coach Lester. And they've pretty much been told to play anything down the lines fair. And that one apparently foul by enough feet for Coach Lester to call it foul decisively. So things will stay put at 0-2 as Tolley makes his way back to the box. And the fastball swung on and missed for strike 3. And a quick inning for Bryce McGuire on the mound, as we'll head to the top of the 4th. The score still 6-4, East Atlanta Santas. And so Lopez will be back out on the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. Both teams on their second pitcher of the series. And we'll see how quickly those things change. And we'll see if Brett Foss wants to go to any of his 30-pitch guys here early in the series. Or he might. We'll see if he might want to save them for tomorrow's game. And so now hitting for the Jags will be the catcher, Gavin Murphy. Big Oil, as he's been deemed by his teammates. He'll lead things off here in the fourth. And the fastball low and in as he kind of dances his way out of harm's way. 1-0 the count. And same pitch, same spot, and same result as he kind of backs his feet away once again. 2-0. And if you're Bo Kutencooler, that's not what you'd like to see, especially with the way that the Stars offense typically works. As the curveball that time is low and away. 3-0 the count. And looks like Kyle Tolley in center field trying to talk a little bit of smack to the broadcast booth. As that fastball finds the middle part of the plate, 3-1. Another fastball finds the lower part of the zone, crosses probably around the knees, and that'll run the count full, 3-2. And Szymanski waiting on deck for the Jags. And another pitch, this one fouled back. So things will stay put at 3-2. And the seventh pitch of the at-bat coming up. And in a series like this, just seeing anywhere between 8 to 10 pitches is pretty much going to be seen as a victory, as he will take ball 4 and head down to first base to lead off the inning. Oh, my apologies. That was not Gavin Murphy. That was Ian McCubbin, and now batting will be Yadi Canales. And that first pitch changeup is going to be low, ball 1. And Canales hit by a pitch his first AB and able to come around and score, as he will watch that one for ball 2. And we'll see if McCubbin at first wants to try his luck on a straight steal, but likely going to be trying to let the pitch count run its course, as that one is fouled back and out of play. 2-1 the count. And in this Fall World Series, a lot of strategy that not only the pitchers typically don't have to think about, but their team captains as well, as that one swung on. 2-2 the count. And really just new territory for a lot of these guys. Most of them trying to get acquainted to college baseball, the others trying to get acquainted to more of a leadership role. And the curveball that time stays outside and runs the count full, 3-2. So the 13th pitch of the inning for Lopez coming up. And the curveball softly lined at the first baseman, and Laverne will have it for the first out of the inning. So 1 out and runner on first. And that'll bring in the top of the lineup for the Jags as Alex Showalter steps in. And the curveball grounded, foul territory towards the third base dugout. 0-1. And another curveball. This one stays up and away. 1-1 the count now to Showalter. And Showalter, a Texas native, typically does a real good job of staying powerful with off-speed pitches, as the fastball thrown up in the zone gets by him. 1-2 the count. And a lot of that has to do with the way that he adjusts his swing, able to be really controlled and powerful off his front foot as well. And he will swing at the fastball away for strike 3. And that'll be the second out of the inning. 17 pitches for Lopez here in the inning. And they'll bring in the 2-hole now. Tanner Powell. And first pitch swinging from the curveball. 0-1 the count. And at this point, might not hurt to try and see if McCubbin can force a little bit of pressure on the base paths, as the curveball that time gets him up and out. So 1-1 the count. As Powell probably thought it was going to come in and hit him and broke back towards the plate. Just didn't break back enough. And the pickoff move to first from Lopez. And a pretty soft, lackadaisical pick. He's back with plenty of time. And likely just trying to keep him there, as that curveball once again lands inside. 2-1 the count. And the fastball line down the left field line. It's going to be called fair as of now. Simonelli has it, and he will throw it into third, but McCubbin will stay put at second base. And looks like he will have a 2-out single. And that'll now bring in Gavin Murphy. He'll come to the bat with one runner in scoring position with 2 outs. And the first pitch curveball will be low and away for ball 1. And Murphy, coming off of a pretty hot streak after the last couple weekends of play for the Stars, had a streak of 10 straight plate appearances reaching base. And another curveball. This one's going to come back just enough and catch the outer part of the plate with the backdoor breaking ball. 1-1. And runner takes off for third. He will be safe, but the runner at first, Tanner Powell, will stay put. So there'll be runners at the corners with 2 outs here. And that pitch called a ball. So 2-1 the count now to Murphy. And that one swung on and fouled back. Things even back up at 2 apiece. And although we've had no shortage of scoring, we have had a shortage of long balls here. And that likely has to do with the weather, as it's gone down to about 45, 50 degrees. As Tanner Powell takes off for second base. And he will be safe, as no throw from Ambrose. And the count full now, 3-2. And over 20 pitches on the inning for Bryce Lopez. So he's pretty much over halfway through his pitch count for the series. As that one taken for ball 4, and it'll load up the bases. And the Jags doing a good job now of seeing as many pitches as they can and really working counts. And they'll bring in the cleanup hitter with the bases loaded, Dawson Szymanski. And this is probably the nightmare scenario for John Dempscher, the manager of the East Atlanta Santa's pitching staff. And that ball low for ball 1. But if you're Bo Kutencooler, the position and hitting coach for the Jags, then this is probably exactly what you'd love to see at this point in the game. Gives you a chance to take the lead back. That one's lined deep into left, and it's going to be gone as Dawson Szymanski takes the lead on a grand slam.
I got a whole lot of money. Y'all it for me.
And he will clean out the bases.
It's a party, it's a party, it's a party.
And after that grand slam, the Jags now lead 8-6. And pretty much as soon as I say there's not been any long balls, the biggest long ball you could hit here in game one. And they're going to throw the ball to home plate to see if he crossed. And they're going to say that he did cross home plate. So the home run will stand. And they'll bring in the 5-hole now, Bo Kutencooler. And that fastball going to catch the inside part of the plate. 0-1 the count. And that one lined foul down the right field line. 0-2 the count now to Kutencooler. And that fastball up and away, ball one. And it looks like we've got some more action now in the bullpens as warming up in the East Atlanta Santas bullpen looks to be Seth Gray. And Bryson Menard looks to be warming up in the other team's bullpen as the curveball comes back for strike three, and that will end the inning. So we'll head now to the top of the fifth. The score 8-6 following the grand slam from Dawson Szymanski. And the Jags now take back their lead that they haven't had since the top of the first. Oh wait, I'm sorry. This is the bottom of the fourth. Got ahead of myself. And Bryson McGuire back out on the mound after a pretty quick inning last inning. And, you know, they'd like to see him go at least 3, maybe 4 innings with his pitch count if he can keep things going the way they are. And looks like we won't have any replacements so far in this game as we're pretty much almost halfway through. And in the East Atlanta Santas bullpen, Seth Gray is warming up a little bit. He's going through his pregame routine. And McGuire's set for the pitch. And that one tapped at home plate. And they're going to say that it was a foul ball as it went straight down. So 0-1 the count now to Ambrose. And McGuire, a good job of pitching to contact there as the changeup found most of the plate. And another one, this one, check swing, and it's going to be called away. And it looks like there won't be an appeal. And the fastball that time, right down Main Street, 1-2 the count now to Ambrose. And it is caught looking for strike three as McGuire has another strikeout. So the first out here in the bottom half of the fourth. And the cleanup hitter, Justin Szymanski, due up as that pitch looked to be high for ball one. And the curveball swung on, grounded down the third baseline. It's off Kutencooler's glove. And the throw to first will not be in time as it will be scored a hit. So 9 hits now for the East Atlanta Santas. And some defensive positioning now in the outfield. As first pitch fastball inside to Simonelli at the plate. So 1-0 the count. And runner on first. And Szymanski likely not going anywhere at first base. That one pulled foul down the right field line, 1-1. And pretty much playing right into the outfield shift that Dawson Szymanski in right field is trying to employ. And the changeup that time fools him and right down the middle, 1-2. And the changeup swung on again and caught by the catcher. But they're going to say that it hit the ground first. I'm not really sure. But things will stay where they're at, 1-2, as Simonelli gets back in the box. And looks like Foss is going to have a word with the umpire at home plate, or should I say behind home plate, Hayden Dow. So the 1-2 now from McGuire. And that fastball fouled straight back. Things stay where they are at 1-2. And warming up in the Jags bullpen is Bryson Menard. And another one swung on and fouled back, and Simonelli doing his best to try and drive the pitch count up as much as possible. And another fastball. This one fouled out of play down the left field line. And things will stay where they are at 1-2. And that one turned on down the first base line. It's going to get into right field. And it'll be a single as Justin Szymanski will stay put at second base. So runners at first and second, 1 out. And that'll bring in Cam Laverne. Laverne, a single down the right field line his last time up. And in a good spot to try and keep things rolling for the Santas and try and help them reclaim the lead. And he will take that first pitch low for ball 1. And change up that time high, 2-0 the count. And that pitch swung on and missed. 2-1 the count now for Laverne. And Simonelli, the 10th hit of the game for the East Atlanta Santas with that single. And that one, a fly ball into right center. Powell calling for it, and he will make the catch. And there will be no play at third base as Szymanski stays put at second. So 2 outs now, and runners on first and second. And that'll bring in the second baseman, Al Gatson, for the East Atlanta Santas. And Tanner Powell making 2 terrific plays in center field. And the first pitch swung on and missed by Gatson. 0-1 the count. And another pitch. This one going to be outside. 1-1 now for Gatson at home plate. And it looks like that one's going to be called a ball as well. 2-1 now. Hello. Okay. And that one swung on, fouled straight back. Evens the count up at 2 apiece. And McGuire just 1 strike away now from getting out of the inning. And with the lead intact, and that fastball lined into right field between the shortstop and third baseman. It's by Fletcher in left field. It's going to roll to the wall. Powell ranging for it. He'll get it in. And Gatson has a triple after the fielding error in left field from Fletcher Williams. 2 runs will come around to score, and that ties the game. And a huge 2-out mistake for the Jags as they give up the lead. And McGuire will get a first pitch out on Cade Rohde on the comebacker. And that will be the inning. So we'll head to the top of the 5th now. The score now tied 8-8. And that comebacker just coming a little bit too late. And if it could have gotten here a little bit sooner, maybe the Jags would still have their lead. Nevertheless, tie game, and Bryce Lopez comes back out onto the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. And certainly not the way they probably drew up that inning going, but I'm sure KT and the East Atlanta Santas will take it. So as we head to the top of the 5th after 4 innings of play, things are where they are when we first started, all tied up. And a reminder that both teams have pitchers warming up in their bullpens. Seth Gray warming up for the East Atlanta Santas, and Bryson Menard warming up for the Jags. And one of the things about this Fall World Series, both teams have the catchers playing, whether that be behind the plate or DHing. And so typically they're not able to kind of help warm up their own pitchers in the bullpen. So that responsibility is kind of fallen on other position players that may not be playing right now or other pitchers in the bullpen. And at the plate now will be Cade Hebert for the Jags. And the first pitch fastball up and away for ball 1. And one of the stipulations for this Fall World Series, the 4 catchers that were drafted, each catcher has to catch a full game. And so Jacob Ambry's behind the plate here in game 1, as that one low for ball 2. He's behind the plate for game 1 for the East Atlanta Santas. And behind the plate for game 2 will be Justin Szymanski, as the curveball swung on and missed from Hebert. And a little bit of a rematch. This one, Lopez's second time through the order. And a curveball swung on and fouled off the foot of Hebert, as that evens things up at 2 apiece. So we'll see how Lopez does his second time through the lineup. And likely going to try and make the most of his lefty-lefty matchup here. Meanwhile, the catchers for the Jags, Gavin Murphy and Yadi Canales. Murphy catching game 1. Canales will be catching game 2, as that run the count full 3-2 now. So the payoff pitch coming up. And that one will be ball 4. So against lefties today for Hebert, he is 0 for 0 with a hit by pitch and a walk. And it looks like we're going to have a pinch hitter now. Checking into the game, KJ Battles. And the curveball that time bounces at home plate, and Ambrose keeps it in front of him for ball 1. And Battles one of the 2 ways for the Stars, as he takes the fastball down Main Street for strike 1. on the mound been up to about 93, 94 miles an hour and been working in the middle infield so far this fall. As looks like they're going to say he held up. 2-1 the count now following the high and away ball. And that one's going to be away. I believe 3-1 the count. On the scoreboard here it says 2-2. And that one swung on and fouled back out of play. So this one, I believe, to be the full count. Payoff pitch coming up to Battles. And a real good AB, as he really hasn't seen any live pitching a couple weeks. And it looks like we have time called as Cade Aber at first base tied his shoes. So we're ready to go once again. And the curveball swung on and missed for strike 3. And that'll be the first out of the inning for the East Atlanta Santas. And John Dempcher coming out to the mound. And it looks like we're going to have a pitching change as Lopez has exhausted his pitch count for the series. And Seth Gray gets the nod, the third pitcher out of in this Game 1 series. And a reminder, we're here in the top of the first, or in the top of the fifth. And so we'll see how many more pitchers the East Atlanta Santas and the Jags go through here in Game 1. And that'll likely determine some of their strategy for tomorrow's game, where on the mound it will be Dawson Meeks for the East Atlanta Santas and Jack Moody for the Jags. Both Meeks and Moody getting their first starts for the Stars, both typically coming out in reliever roles. Moody spent time with the Stars last year on their World Series run and got a couple innings. And Meeks proving himself to be one of the best arms out of the bullpen for the Stars this fall. So likely to be a pretty good matchup, and we'll see how both of them fare when they get the starting nod tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. And we would also like to take this moment to say a quick thank you to everybody, all the parents and family of all the players, the SouthArk Stars that donated at the beginning of the year to the fundraiser. Without your support, we really wouldn't be where we are today. We're thankful for your donations as we get ready to start here in the top of the fifth once again. One out, and Ian McCubbin coming up to hit. He will step in and be the first batter Seth Gray faces out of the pen. And the first pitch high and in, ball 1. And that one out of the zone as well. 2-0 the count. And that fastball finds the zone inside, 2-1. And that one swung on, fouled out of play down the right field line. 2-2 the count. And that one's going to be caught looking for strike three, and that'll be the second out of the inning. So a strikeout for Seth Gray coming out of the pen, and 2 outs now here in the fifth. And that'll bring in the 9-hole and designated hitter, Yadi Canales. And that one's going to bounce towards home plate. 1-0 the count. And Embry's today getting really all the work he wants on blocking balls, keeping them as close to him as he can. As the East Atlanta Santa's bullpen has been bouncing a couple of the breaking balls at the home plate. And the curveball that time looks to have ran in and just didn't break back enough. As that one, I believe, hit Yachty in the head, and he will head down to first base. So 2 outs now, and runner at first and second. And the top of the lineup now coming up for the Jags as Alex Showalter steps in. Hebert gets his lead at second, and nobody's really holding him on. And that pitch is going to be called up for ball one. And that one pounded into the ground, and it will be called foul as Ambrose fields it and throws it to third for the final out, but it will be called foul nonetheless. 1-1 to Showalter at home plate. And that fastball catches the outside corner. 1-2 now to Showalter. And that one looked like a check swing. Gray is going to toss it to first base and bounce it there. But in time, and Cam Laverne able to pick it at first base for the third out. So we'll head to the bottom of the fifth. The score still tied 8-8 as the Jags unable to push across those runners. And back out on the mound to start the fifth inning will be Bryce McGuire. We'll see if he can get through the entire inning as he's been out there on the mound for quite a while. But he has had some pretty quick innings. And it will look like we're going to have a substitution as KJ Battles checks in at second base for Ian McCubbin. So he will be working the middle infield with Alex Showalter. And Bo Kutenkooler will be out there at third base as he likely talking some strategy with the opposing captain, John Demcher, at the third base box. And we have seen here today some players playing a little bit out of position. Showalter typically a second baseman playing short here. And Kutenkooler been working at first base for pretty much the last year, but spent a year and a half at third base. Spent last fall at third base, sharing time with Elijah Nichols, the third baseman, who now playing at Arkansas State. And the first pitch swung on and fouled straight back. 0-1 the count now. And I mean, if you're the Jags right now, you'd really like to see McGuire face as many pitchers as he can, or as many batters as he can, as that puts you in a little bit better position for the rest of the series. As the fastball that time inside, 1-1. Fastball that time swung on and missed. 1-2. And it looked like Scooter on top of that one quite severely as he fouls that one out of play. 1-2. It will stay. And the pitch. And fastball right down the middle, froze him as that will be the first out of the inning. And looks like we're going to have time called. And looks like McGuire has now faced his last batter as well due to the pitch count, as Brett Foss takes the ball from him. A great outing for McGuire, as looks like he's single-handedly kept them in the game. And now pitching will be number 26, Bryson Menard. Oh, and looks like we've had a little bit of a miscommunication on the defensive substitution. KJ Battles taking the place of Fletcher Williams in the lineup, but he will be playing second base, and they have moved Ian McCubbin out to left field. So McCubbin now playing in the corner outfield, making room for Battles on the infield. And it seems like Fletcher really had about all he could with his knee. That probably had a little bit of a portion to play in the decision. And looks like they have already started to send out another pitcher to kind of warm up, get loose a little bit in the Jags bullpen. Looks like it will be Colin McKenzie warming up in the bullpen for the Jags. And really, with how low the pitch count is, most teams will typically have at least somebody warming up almost the entire time, just trying to give them as much time and room as possible to get feeling good before they go in. Surprisingly, in the East Atlanta Santa's bullpen, nobody warming up. And they might just be going by once a pitcher reaches a certain number of pitches, they might send somebody out there. But Foss and the Jags opting for the route of trying to give them just as much time as possible to get ready however they want to. As Menard's first pitch is outside the strike zone. I'm not really sure where it missed, but 1-0 the count. And that one finds the zone. 1-1 the count now as that one crosses at about knee high. And that one's lined into center field. It looks like it's going to be off the net. And Powell has it. His third spectacular catch of the day. And that'll be the second out of the inning. And 3 great plays in center field for Tanner Powell of the Jags. As Kyle Tolley steps in. That one going to be called up. 1-0 the count. And doing a good job in center of letting Ian McCubbin work his way, kind of familiarize himself with the way it's going to play here today. 1-1. And looks like they're going to say that he did go on the check swing. 1-2 the count now. And although McCubbin has been playing at second base, judging the fly balls here today is a little bit different than what it has been for most of the fall. As that was grounded down the third baseline foul. So things will stay put at 1-2. And it's been a little bit of a quiet day at second base anyway for McCubbin. So likely going to see a little bit more action with how many slow rollers down the left field line Williams had. And that one is flied up into right field. Szymanski settling under it. And that will be the third out of the inning. So we'll head to the top of the 6th. Score still tied 8-all. And not really sure what we'll do in the event of a tie at the end of 9 innings. With game 2 tomorrow and all the pitchers being on pitch counts and some of the restrictions, you might likely just try sending the pitching machine out there and kind of chance it and hope the other team does the same. Either way, Seth Gray back out on the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. And no offensive or defensive changes really for the East Atlanta Santas, other than their pitchers on the mound. Everybody's pretty much right where they started. And looks like we're going to have a little bit of action now in their bullpen, as looks like Gray Fisher makes his way out there with Caleb Smith. Uh, so looks like Gray Fisher will start kind of warming up back around the bullpen. And Colin McKenzie still rolling out, getting everything how he likes it for his potential outing here in this one. Both teams really on their same pitcher at this point. If they can kind of go pitcher for pitcher, the advantage will go to the Jags. But the likelihood of that happening not very high, since two of their pitchers can only go to 30 pitches. So now up will be the 2-hole Tanner Powell. And the first pitch will be outside for ball 1. And that one lined into the 4-hole, and it's going to get into right field. Rhodey will have it, and it'll be a leadoff single for the Jags here in the 6th inning. And one of the little more unique things about this Fall World Series, not only the players that are actually playing were drafted, but also those that are unable to play were drafted. As that one swung on and foul by Murphy. Some of the pitchers that either not ready to go or on the IL, as well as some of the position players were drafted. Their sole purpose is really to root on their team and try and get in the head of the other team as much as they can. And that one bounces to second base, and the back pick to first will be not in time, as Powell able to scramble back to first base. And it looked like Powell was going to try and read that one in the dirt and head to second base, but as soon as Ambrose popped up with it, tried to scramble back to first. So 1-1 the count to Murphy at home plate. And that one drops into the zone. 1-2 now to Murphy. And slider that time outside, 2-2, as Murphy doesn't give it a chase. And we've had one big home run here in Game 1 from Dawson Szymanski, giving the Jags the lead 8-6 at the time. As that one bounces away, from Ambrose, and some terrible base running by the Jags on that one. As it looks like Tanner Powell may have thought it was a foul ball the way it bounced off. Nevertheless, it looks like it'll be a full count. And Murphy grounds this one over to the shortstop. Lauterbach, the throw to first in time. And Powell heads for third base. And he will be there in time, as Scooter Anderson had to just kind of keep it in front of him at that point. So there'll be one out with a runner on third here in the 6th inning. And that'll bring in the cleanup hitter, Dawson Szymanski. Grand slam his last AB. And that first pitch is going to be up and in, ball 1. And curveball that time swung on and missed. 1-1 the count. Man, another fastball. This one up and in once again. 2-1 now to Szymanski at home plate. And another one high. 3-1 now to Szymanski. And he's in a good spot to really pick his pitch and do what he wants to with it. And he'll swing on the curveball once again, and that runs the count full, 3-2. And another one swung on and missed, and that will be a strikeout for Seth Gray, the second out of the inning. And if he can get out of this one without surrendering a run, it'll be a good thing as Bo Kutencooler steps in. And the first pitch strike. So 0-1 now to Kutencooler. And we'll see if the captain can give his team the lead here in the sixth. That one grounded down the third baseline, and it's going to be foul. So a quick 0-2 count now for Kutencooler. And Gray just one strike away from getting out of it. And he grounds that one, pounds it into the dirt. Lauterbach has it. And the throw to first will be in time. And we will head into the bottom of the sixth. The score still tied at 8 apiece. And coming back out on the mound will be Bryson Menard. And it doesn't look like really either bullpen is really in too much of a hurry to get ready, as Menard has most of his pitches to go, and Seth Gray taking his time in the bullpen. And so due up now for the East Atlanta Sandals will be the 3-4-5 as Ambrose steps in. And he will take the first pitch as that one outside the zone. Another pitch out of the zone. 2-0 the count now to Ambrose. And he will swing on that one. It's a long fly ball to right field or to left field. And it is nowhere close to the fence as Ambrose now gives his team the lead 9-8 off the solo shot.
I got a whole lot of money. Y'all it for me. Bottle keep popping that water band. Jacking. It's a party, it's a party, it's a party.
And a big-time home run for the all-region catcher as he just gives his team the lead 9-8. And that pitch swung on and foul out of play. So 0-1 the count. And that pitch going to be low, 1-1 now. And Szymanski now at the plate as he'll likely try and keep things going. And that one grounded at the shortstop. Showalter bobbles it, and he bobbles it again. And another error for the Jags, their third of the ball game. As Szymanski will reach on the error. And still nobody out. And if you're the Jags right now, you really want to try and limit the big inning as Ty Simonelli steps in. And that one going to be low and in, ball one. And likely if you're in Brett Foss's situation right now, you'd like to see your bullpen kind of start to warm up just in case things do get out of hand. 2-0 the count. And that pitch is going to be called outside as well. 3-0 now the count to Simonelli. And pretty much the only good thing about Szymanski getting to first is that he won't be stealing anytime soon, as that one is fouled back and out of play down the left field line. So 3-1 now the count. And that will be ball 4. So runners at first and second now with nobody out. And that'll bring in Cam Laverne, the designated hitter. And he will swing on the first pitch slider. 0-1. And that one grounded down the third base line foul. And quickly an 0-2 count now to Laverne. And it would be a big moment here if the Jags can turn a double play and really shift the momentum of the inning. Another one grounded down the third baseline foul. Fourth pitch coming up for Laverne. And that one flied out into right center as Powell settles under it, and it will be caught. And the runner at second will stay put, as likely not trying to test Powell's arm right now. So 1 out now, runners at first and second. And that'll bring in the second baseman, Al Gatson, for the East Atlanta Santas. And Bernard really likes to work pretty quick, as he likes to come set and really get going. As that one swung on and fouled back. 0-1 the count now to Gatson. And curveball that time, as Murphy able to keep it in front of him. 1-1 the count. And that one swung on and missed. 1-2 the count. And in this situation, a double play is the best outcome for the Jags, as curveball that time low and away, 2-2. And really trying to get him to pound one into the dirt so they can turn that double play, but Gatson waiting really for his pitch and likely going to try and spoil anything else off. And that one grounded to the shortstop. And he'll be out at second, and the throw from Battles at first will not be in time. So there'll be runners at the corners now with 2 out, following the fielder's choice. And that'll bring in the right fielder, Cade Rohde. And he will swing on the fastball first pitch and foul that one straight back, 0-1. And runners will stay put as Gatson stays at first base. And they will pick off to first, and now Gatson is caught in a rundown. And they're going to say that he's out at first, but the run will come around to score from third base. So that will tie up the ball game. I know, I'm sorry, that won't tie up the ball game. That'll give the East Atlanta Santas a 10-run to 8-run advantage as we head to the top of the 7th. So the score now 10-8 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas. And in that situation, Gatson a real heads-up job of staying in the rundown until the run is able to cross home plate. And that'll give them the 2-run lead as Seth Gray steps back out on the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. And Gray able to get out of a pretty big inning last time. And still really no defensive or offensive substitutions for the East Atlanta Santas. And here in a series like this, as short as it is, things are pretty magnified. Likely for the Jags, they felt that Williams couldn't get to the balls he needed to get to. So they opted for putting Battles at second base for him and moving McCubbin out to left. And so we'll see how the Jags can respond as Cade Hebert comes up to bat. And first pitch ball low to start the inning, 1-0. And as you can see, the shadows kind of starting to change a little bit as the left-hand side of the ballpark now coming into shadow. The entirety of left field under the shadow of the pine trees, and it's starting to creep out into the third base, shortstop, center field part of the ballpark. As that pitch finds the zone, 2-1. And as those shadows start to come in, you'll likely start to see a little bit of a change in the way that pitchers or the way that hitters pick up the ball, as that one runs the count to 3-1. And with how the weather has changed here this week, comes a pretty steep temperature drop, as it'll be a leadoff walk for Hebert and the Jags to start the 7th inning. And that'll bring in the second baseman, KJ Battles, for his second AB of the series. And that pitch going to be inside as well. 2-0 the count now. And changeup that time swung on. 2-1 the count. And another changeup. This one laid off as it runs low and in. 3-1 the count now for Battles. And likely going to try and make them force contact, as that one outside for ball 4. So back-to-back walks to start off the inning for Seth Gray and the East Atlanta Santas. And that'll bring in the 8-hole, and now playing left field, Ian McCubbin. And McCubbin had a big home run in the Stars' last scrimmage here at the ballpark. And he'll come up in a big spot as he squares around. He gets it down the third baseline, and he is able to move the runners over to second and third. And a good piece of small ball, as there'll now be 2 runners in scoring position as Yadi Canales comes up to bat. And if you're one of the co-captains, that's something you always like to see, is one of your fellow teammates really buying into your strategy here late in the game when you're down by 2. And so props to Brett Foss and Bo Kutenkooler for getting some of that buy-in. And Canales, a half-hearted swing on the first pitch for strike 1. And another pitch blown away. This one laid off, 1-1. And swung on that time and fouled back. Things are now 1-2 with 1 out here in the 7th. And breaking ball blown away that time. 2-2 the count now as things even up. And that one gets by Ambrose at home plate. But the runner, Abear at third, will stay put, as that'll run the count full now to Canales. And the payoff pitch coming up from Seth Gray on the mound. And a big spot to really kind of crawl back into this ball game for the Jags, as he lines one right to the shortstop, and he will hold on to it and won't throw it to either bag as both runners get back in time. And a big, crucial second out of the inning, as that now gives them 2 outs with the top of the order due up. And at this point, it's really down to who can get the job done with 2 outs. Is Seth Gray going to get the final out and keep the lead where it is, or is Showalter going to tie the game up with a hit right here? And he'll swing on the first pitch. Foul and out of play. 0-1 the count now. And starting to get hot in the East Atlanta Santas bullpen is Gray Fisher. And that one grounded softly to the third baseman. Anderson has it. The throw to first in time for the third out of the inning. And a big third out, as that will keep the score tied keep the score at 10-8 as we head to the bottom of the 7th, and allow for the East Atlanta Santas to try and add on to their lead that they earned last inning. And so as we get into the later parts of the ball game, we're going to see how quickly teams might want to go to their bullpen to try and keep the score where it is in crucial situations. As the lights have started to come on here with the shadows covering about half the ballpark. And now starting to get hot in the Jags bullpen is Colin McKenzie, as he's finished through his long toss and rolling routine. And already in this series, we've seen some of the top tier relief pitchers come out for the pens of both these teams. And we'll see how that strategy affects game 2 tomorrow. But still likely going to see at least one more pitcher from each side in this one. And you'd like to try and keep it to where you only have to see maybe one more, as that first pitch is inside for ball 1. Really, if either team can try and save one of their pitchers and spend one less than the other, that's going to set them up for some pretty big success in game 2. 2-0 the count. And Rohde swings on that one. It's into right center. And Szymanski unable to get to it. It's in the wall. And Szymanski throws it into second base. And Rhodey will have a leadoff double to start the 7th inning. And a big double for the East Atlanta Santas, as that brings in Scooter Anderson, the 9-hole, with a runner in scoring. He squares around, and he pushes it up the first baseline, and that'll move the runner over to third. And a good piece of strategy from KT and John Dempster in the East Atlanta Santas dugout, as that will move another runner 90 feet and just 90 feet away from home plate with one out and the top of the order coming up. So as Kenner Lauterbach steps in, he'll have a run just 90 feet away. Anything deep in the outfield is likely going to score him. And really anything probably to left field, he'll probably be able to score Rhodey. As Rhodey, a pretty quick guy on the bases. And that one's off his hands, and McGuire will have it for the second out of the inning. And just like that, McGuire just 1 out away from getting out of the jam. And that'll bring in the captain, Kyle Tolley. And he lines one into center field. It's going to get down, and he will have an RBI single with 2 outs here in the 7th. He extends the East Atlanta Santas lead to 3 now with a score of 11-8. And that'll bring in Jacob Ambrose. He'll take the first pitch low, and Tolley will move up 90 feet. And if you're not able to really field that ball cleanly behind home plate on the bounce, Tolley's going to be able to move 90 feet no matter where he is on the base paths. So runner on second now, 2 outs. And that pitch is going to be up. 2-0 the count now to Ambrose. So the 2-0, and Ambrose likely looking for his pitch here. Already a home run in this one, and he will take that one on the outside corner for strike 1. 2-1 the count. And Tolley likely trying to move 90 feet as quickly as possible, keep the pressure on him. As that one's in the dirt, and he decides to stay home. 3-1 the count now. And in the later part of this ball game, each at-bat, each pitch, more important than the last, as Ambrose takes ball 4. So runners at first and second, 2 out. And that'll bring in the cleanup hitter, Justin Szymanski. And the first pitch is up and in to Szymanski, 1-0. And looks like sooner rather than later, the Jags will be going to their bullpen. As it looks like Colin McKenzie has finished his warm-ups. Count 1-1, and you know they'd like to try and see McGuire finish this inning out. And that one is swung on and missed on the outer part of the plate. 1-2 the count. And looked like Szymanski that time trying to pull it into the left center gap instead of taking it to the right center gap. So 1-2 the count. And he will swing on the breaking ball for strike 3, and that will end the inning. So we'll head now to the top of the 8th. Score now 11-8 after the RBI single from Kyle Tolley. And he gets it done himself to give his team an extension on their 2-run lead. And looks like we're going to have a pitching change right out of the start of the inning. Coming in to pitch for Seth Gray is Gray Fisher. He'll be taking the mound for the East Atlanta Santas. And if you are the Jags, this is really not the guy that you want to see in this kind of a situation. Gray Fisher's been pretty much lights out for most of the year. A really good breaking ball, has really good command. The way that his breaking ball tunnels with his fastball, it's really hard to kind of stay in there on the curveball. And then when he throws that fastball up and in, there's really no way to catch up to it. And so likely the strategy here from John Dempshire and the East Atlanta Santas is to have Fisher finish the game off. Fisher, just like pretty much every other pitcher so far today, 50 pitch limit. And so if he can go the final part of this game and stay under that pitch count, he'll save some crucial pitching for game 2 tomorrow, and also give his team the advantage with a 1-0 series lead. And it looks like Colin McKenzie going back out to warm up a little bit. A little bit of trash talk now taking place between the captain Kyle Tolley and the Game 2 starter for the Jags, Jack Moody. Moody heading out to the bullpen, looks like just to kind of get his own little workout in, but not one to spoil the opportunity. Talking a little bit of trash to Tolley out in center field. And so due up now will be the 2, 3, and 4 for the Jags as Tanner Powell steps in. And the first pitch will be up and away, ball 1. And that fastball is going to be outside. 2-0 the count. And fastball that time swung on and missed. 2-1 now. And really the strategy just has to be stay under the pitch count, as that fastball is up and away once again. 3-1 the count. And with stuff as good as Gray Fisher's, really even if they make contact, it's likely not going to be strong contact, as it looked like changeup that time is taken at the knees for strike 2. So the full count and the payoff pitch coming up. And that one's lined into center field. It's going to be deep. It's at the wall. Tolley ranging back. It's off the net. And he will get it into second base. And it's going to bounce away from the cutoff man towards third base. And a leadoff double for the Jags. And a much-needed double to start the inning as time's starting to run out. And that'll bring in the 3-hole and catcher Gavin Murphy. He'll have a runner in scoring position with nobody out here in the top of the 8th. And that'll be the first step off of the AB for Gray Fisher. Only one step off allowed per batter. Anything after that will be called a ball on the pitch count. And that fastball is low for ball 1. And looked like a little bit of a miscommunication between Ambrose and Fisher. And that fastball finds the outer part of the plate, 1-1. And as you can see, the shadows now taking over the pitching mound and home plate. And the curveball swung on and missed as Powell heads down to third base. And he will be safe on the hit and run. 1-2 the count now to Murphy at home plate. And the run just 90 feet away. And that curveball bounced towards home plate, and Ambrose able to keep it in front of him as things even up at 2 apiece. But as you can see, the shadows really starting to play a game now For the hitters, especially with the shadows now covering up the baseball on and off on its way to home plate from the pitcher. And changeup that time, swung on and missed for strike 3. And that'll be the first out of the inning. One zero the count. And the breaking ball that time comes back into the zone. 1-1 the count. And Szymanski already the hero once today for the Jags. And now in need of some more late inning heroics here in the 8th inning. And he will swing at the fastball up in the zone for strike 2. So 1-2 the count. And a big at-bat here for Gray Fisher. As one of the most dangerous hitters in the Jags lineup. If he can retire him, he'll be just 1 out away from getting out of the inning. As that pitch looked to be in the zone, but taken for ball 2. So even count now. And that one is swung on, and it's in foul territory down the first baseline. Laverne will make the play in foul territory for the second out. And that was a big out for Gray Fisher and the East Atlanta Santas, as they're just 1 out away from stranding that run at third base and really keeping this game at an arm's length with a 3-run lead. So the captain, Bo Kutencooler, will now come up in a crucial spot. Kyle Tolley, the captain for the East Atlanta Santas, came through with a late-game RBI single, and we'll see if Kutencooler can do the same for his team here. 1-0 the count, following that first pitch fastball in the dirt. And the breaking ball that time finds the zone, 1-1. And another curveball, this one low and in. 2-1 now. And nerves really starting to play a factor here as we get to the late innings. And a pretty tight ball game. And he will half-heartedly swing on that one. As you know, he'd like to have that one back. 2-2. And just 1 strike away now for Fisher. And the curveball away, taken, and that'll run the count full now, 3-2. So the payoff pitch coming up, and a big spot for Kutencooler. He's known for typically working pitchers in this kind of a situation and being content with taking a walk. And that one is inside for ball 4, and the entire East Atlanta Santa team starts running into the dugout thinking it's strike 3. There'll be runners at the corners now, as that was a borderline call from Coach Lester. And that'll bring in the first baseman, Cade Hebert, with runners at the corners and 2 out. So more pitches that Gray Fisher has to throw, as that first pitch fastball is taken for strike 1. And that's never anything you really like to see if you're John Dempster, your guy having to go a little bit farther than you'd like him to. And that one is swung on and fouled down the right field or left field line. So a quick 0-2 count now for Hebert at home plate. And Fisher once again just 1 strike away. We'll see if he can finish him off. And that one inside almost runs into him. 1-2 the count. And I mean, at this point, everybody on the Stars roster knows about Fisher's curveball, so it's likely something they're trying to expect in this situation. And even though they know it's coming, it's still strike three. So we'll head to now to the bottom of the eighth. The score's still 11-8 as Gray Fisher able to get out of the two-out jam, and he'll keep the score at 11-8. And time's starting to run out for the Jags at the plate, and they're going to try and keep things where they are here in this half inning as they send Bryson McGuire back out on the mound. And really, if they can get Bryson Menard to go the rest of the way, it'll be pretty much a miracle for them. I'm almost positive it's going to take at least a 10-pitch inning for him. And then even at that point, if they do make it to the bottom of the ninth, he'll likely only have maybe a few pitches left. But either way, we'll probably see Colin McKenzie come in this inning. And it looks like the East Atlanta Santas are banking on Gray Fisher going the rest of the way, as they do not look to have anybody else warming up in their bullpen. And so now due up for the East Atlanta Santas will be the 5-6-7 as Ty Simonelli steps in. And he will take the first pitch fastball on the inside part of the plate for strike one. And he will swing on the changeup. 0-2 now, as Menard had him out in front on that one. And not typically what you think you're going to see from Menard, as that fastball is up and away for ball one. So 1-2 the count. And he will swing and foul that one back. Things will stay put at 1-2. And like his pitching staff coach, Brett Foss, would like to say, he needs to quit playing with his food. Every pitch matters at this point. If he can go the entire inning, he'll really kind of set his team up to have a chance for game two as well. And that fastball bounces towards home plate, 2-2. And that one's lined into right field. It's towards the fence. And Szymanski in right barely has to move to get to it, as that will be the first out of the inning. A frozen rope to Szymanski in right, and that will be the first out. And Tanner Powell now trying to talk with his left fielder. And looks like we're going to have the pitching change as McKenzie comes on, as Bryson McGuire has reached his pitch limit for the series. And so likely Colin McKenzie will be the last pitcher for the Jags in this ball game. And this really kind of plays into the East Atlanta Santa's favor that they had to bring in another pitcher for what will likely be at this point just 2/3 of an inning, and likely unable to pitch tomorrow. Meanwhile, if they're able to get Gray Fisher to finish off the game in the ninth, they'll set themselves up to have a good piece of their pitching staff available for game two and try and shut this series down. And a quick reminder about the series. It is a best of three. However, the first two games will be played with the Stars pitching staff. Should the series need to go to a third game, that game will be Friday, and it will be exclusively done off of the Hack pitching machine. But it will be pretty much set to about what would be the equivalent of a 90 to 95 mile an hour fastball with the option of a curveball coming in on the right side. So not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but still probably a little bit easier psychologically to know what's coming. And so now hitting for the East Atlanta Santas will be the first baseman, Cam Laverne. And Colin McKenzie, just a few pitches, and hopefully he can get through this one. As that one's grounded to the third baseman, Kutencooler has it. And he sails the throw to first, and it is out of play as Laverne will round first and head to second. And that is not what you want to see if you are the Jags right now. Your team captain throwing one into the first base fence. Regardless, there'll be a runner at second now with one out. And that'll bring in the second baseman, Al Gatson. And that fastball finds the zone about knee-high, 0-1 the count. And one of the things that you're going to start to see as we get later and later in the ball games in this series, the dugouts are going to become more and more alive with some trash talking. As that breaking ball runs in and hits Gatson. So he'll head down to first base. Runners at first and second now as Cade Rohde comes up to bat. Only one out here in the bottom of the eighth. And first pitch fastball knee high once again for strike one. And he'll swing on that one. It's grounded towards the first baseman, and it is in foul territory. So quickly an 0-2 count now for Cade Rohde. And if McKenzie can get a double play here, that will pay dividends should his team take back the lead in the ninth inning. And that fastball is spiked. It's by Murphy at home plate, and the runners will move up 90 feet because of it. So runners at second and third now with one out. The count now 1-2 to Rohde. And this East Atlanta Santa's dugout is starting to get more and more wild with each and every pitch. And that one is swung on to miss for strike three. And a big strikeout for McKenzie as that is the second out of the inning. And now just needs to record an out to get out of the inning, keeping things where they are at 11-8. And with the 9-hole up at bat, that seems rather likely. As the first pitch fastball crosses at the knees for strike one. And McKenzie done a good job of getting ahead of hitters early. And now we'll see if he can finish him off here and finish off this eighth inning. And another fastball, same pitch, same spot, same result. 0-2 the count. And at this point, why not go for three in a row? And curveball that time bounces towards home plate, 1-2. And we'll see if they go back to that fastball. But with after throwing a curveball, might want to try and see how it works up in the zone out of that same window. And the fastball swung on and missed for strike three, and that will end the inning. So we'll head to the ninth and final inning of this ball game. The score, East Atlanta Santas 11, Jags 8. And the Jags now down to their final 3 outs of the ball game. And Gray Fisher coming back out on the mound for the East Atlanta Santas to finish it off. And if Fisher can finish this one off, he's going to set his team up for a good bullpen game tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And at this point, yes, you'd like to try and win the game, of course, but you'd also like to try and see if you can knock Fisher out just based off his pitch count alone. that might be one of your best chances at not only trying to win this game, but also at trying to set yourself up for success tomorrow and leave them a pitcher short. And the bottom of the lineup now coming up for the Jags as KJ Battles is due up, and right behind him will be Ian McCubbin, and then will be the 9-hole Yadi Canales. So 7, 8, 9 due up, and a good part of the lineup for Fisher as it's exclusively righties, as Battles squares around to bunt but pulls back in time for ball one. And the first pitch, that fastball runs in and hits Battles square in the back. And certainly not how you want to start out the top of the ninth. A leadoff hit by pitch for Battles and the Jags. So he will head down to first, and Battles no slouch on the bases. But since he's not the tying or go-ahead run, likely going to play station to station as McCubbin steps in. And that pitch is going to be low for ball one. And this inning not starting out well for Fisher in the East Atlanta Santas. And that fastball finds the zone knee high, evens things back up at one apiece. And a pick off to first. Not in time as Battles is able to get back on the dive. 1-1 the count to McCubbin. Nobody out. And the score 11-8 in favor of the East Atlanta Santas. Another pickoff move, and Battles is back once again in time. And this game probably going to look a lot different without the errors that have been made on the part of the Jags. One of the bigger ones that comes to mind is in left field. Fletcher Williams let one of the ground balls go underneath and roll to the fence, allowing 2 runs to score. And that breaking ball low and away, ball 2. That error really kind of gave the East Atlanta Santas life at a point where the Jags had all the momentum in the ball game. And that one is going to be low and away as well. 3-1 the count now to McCubbin. And McCubbin, relatively inexperienced, hasn't had a whole lot of in-game experience this fall. But when he has, it's been top-notch. And he will take ball 4. So a leadoff hit by pitch and now a walk. And runners will be at first and second, and time will be called as John Dempscher heads out to the mound to have a word with his pitcher. And still nobody warming up in the bullpen. So they're likely just going to say, finish it off. And even if they do need to go to somebody else, they might just opt to have Hackattack finish off the game here in the ninth and try and hope that they don't come around and score 3 runs. And the temperature really starting to drop now that the entire field has been engulfed in the shade. Temp now dropping to about 45 degrees. And so for a lot of these guys that aren't playing, they're now bundled up in sweatshirts, long sleeves. And that first pitch is going to be low and in for ball 1 to Canales. And Canales hasn't really had a huge day at the plate, but has come through in some big situations to put pressure on the East Atlanta Santas pitching staff. Had a hit by pitch and a walk so far today. And he will take the fastball for strike 1 at the knees. So 1-1 the count. And the pick to second Looked like it might have been in time, but the throw just a little bit off the mark as that one over to the second base side of the bag instead of the shortstop side. So 1-1 the count to Canales. And the curveball that time is outside. 2-1 now to Canales. And this is a big moment in the ball game, one that Canales usually likes to envision himself in, but when he does, typically tries to do a little bit too much, as he will take another fastball at the knees, evens things up at 2 apiece. When he tries to get too big, typically likes to pull off the ball a little bit, and that can make all the difference. And he fouls that one off the hands straight back, as that one may have came in and hit him had he not swung. But things will stay put at 2 apiece. And that curveball is low and away once again. Full count now for Canales. And remember, nobody out and nobody warming up in that East Atlanta Santa's bullpen. Nothing but pure faith on the part of John Dempscher and Gray Fisher at the mound. And that one is inside for ball 4. And that will load up the bases with nobody out. The top of the order now coming up for the Jags, and this is almost a nightmare scenario for the East Atlanta Santas. Showalter steps in, bases loaded, nobody out. And he will take a fastball down the middle for strike 1. And this is a moment you don't want to try and do too much, as that can result in a rather disastrous ending. And the back pick to first, not in time from Ambrose. 1-1 the count after the high pitch. And if you're going to try and back pick somebody, it would definitely be Canales at first. Unfortunately, the first baseman, Laverne, unfamiliar with some of the signals that they've used in the fall so far. And that one runs inside, and Showalter moves out of the way in a crucial spot. 2-1. And that's one of those times where you just take the hit by pitch and you can help your team score a run right there. And that one fouled straight back. Things even up at 2 apiece. Again, not really sure what Gray Fisher's pitch count is at. Likely somewhere between halfway to 3/5 of his pitch count limitation here today. And we're going to have time called as Jacob Ambrose comes out to have a word with Fisher. And it looks like Dempscher is going to stay in the dugout and just let Ambrose handle this one. Since Dempscher cannot go out to the mound, they've already had their 1 mound visit for the inning with the pitching coach. And really just trying to kind of take advantage of some of the rules by having Ambrose go out there. Ambrose, well-experienced catcher behind the plate, played catcher for half the games last year for the Stars, splitting time with Ryan Riggs. Riggs now playing at Fort Smith. And now we have the pitch once again for Showalter. And that one fouled back once again. Things will stay put at 2-2. Nobody out. Bases loaded. And this is one of those moments that, you know, kids like Showalter dream of. Bases loaded, 9th inning. Down by 3. Gives his team the chance to really kind of try and get their way back into this ball game so they can play the bottom of the 9th. And that pitch is going to be low, and that runs the count full. 3-2 now. And these have been some big ABs from the Jags these last innings. And now it's all finally coming together as they have the bases loaded, a full count, and nobody out for the top of their order. And you can kind of start to hear a little bit of the dugouts. And strike three looking knee high. And Showalter not pleased at all with the call from the umpire. But a crucial strikeout nonetheless for Gray Fisher. And that'll bring in the 2-hole Tanner Powell. And a double play can get him out of it. But with the way that the defense has been working today, not likely. And Powell swings on the first pitch fastball. He's under it. Strike one. A big-time swing from Powell. And if he makes contact, that thing's going deep in the yard. And that one's lined into center field. It's coming towards the net. Tolley chasing after it. He will make the catch on the run at the fence. A score comes in. And the runner from second will advance to third. And the runner at third will score. So lead cut down now to 2 by the Jags. But 2 outs now and runners at the corners after a spectacular catch from Kyle Tolley in center field. And that'll bring in the 3-hole Gavin Murphy with 2 outs. And the tying run at first base. And the first pitch fastball taken strike one at knee height. And both sides are really kind of starting to get excited a little bit. As that one gets by Ambrose, the runner takes off from third. And he will be safe at home plate. And that cuts the lead now down to 1. The count 1-1 after Ambrose dropped that ball. And it looked like Canales at first base stayed where he was. Didn't want to try and get thrown out at second trying to advance. And that one low and away as well. 2-1 the count. And with a 1-run lead, things are starting to get very interesting as Murphy steps in the box. And that one gets away from Ambrose as well. Yachty takes off for second, and he will move up 90 feet. 3-1 the count, and runner at second base now following the pass ball. Again, not sure what Gray Fisher's pitch count is at, but he has to be nearing the top part of it with how long this inning's been going on. But with the lack of movement from the bullpen, it would seem that they're just not going to bring in anybody else. The tying run just 180 feet away, and anything in the gap likely to score Canales from second if he can get a good jump on it. The 3-1 from Fisher coming up. And that pitch is going to be called low by the umpire as Murphy heads down to first. So 2 outs now and runners at first and second. And that'll bring in the cleanup hitter. We're going to have time called as Dempster heads to the mound. And this is the second visit this inning, so I believe they have to sub him out. There's a little bit of confusion right now as they ask for some clarification from Coach Lester on the rules of the Fall World Series. I'm not really sure what they're going to be trying to do right here. And it looks like they are going to let him keep going. And it looks like there was a little bit of a miscommunication on the rules. Either way, be runners at first and second, 2 outs. And the cleanup hitter, Dawson Szymanski. Szymanski already a grand slam in a crucial spot. And he can become the big hero right now with another home run as Fisher takes his one disengagement from the mound. So the 0-0 coming up from Fisher. And that one gets away from Ambrose, but it will keep him he will keep it in front. So 1-0 the count. So the 1-0 now from Fisher. And that one on the outside corner, and it looks to be a ball, 2-0. And things are starting to unravel rather quickly for the East Atlanta Santas. And it would seem that they're just going to stick with Fisher no matter what happens here today. And that pitch is going to be low. 3-0 now to Szymanski. And you don't want to really pitch around him, but you also don't want to give him a chance to do more damage than he's worth. And the curveball that time dropped in for strike one. And if you can kind of try and get Szymanski to come out of his approach, you have a good chance for him to ground something out or pop something up in the air. And that one is low and away for ball 4. And that will load up the bases. So another big situation for the Jags captain, Bo Kutencooler. He'll come in with the bases loaded, 2 outs here in the top of the 9th. And the chance to give his team the lead before they try and go into the bottom of the 9th. A big AB for the captain. And that first pitch is called a strike on the outside corner. 0-1. Both teams on their feet. Everybody really on the edge of their seat here right now. And that one's lined into left field. It's deep, and it's going to be gone. A grand slam to give the Jags the lead. A grand slam for Bo Kutencooler. That has to be one of the biggest home runs he's ever hit in his life as he gives his team a 3-run lead heading into the 9th inning. And the bad thing is they're still not out of this inning. And another pitch outside, ball 1. And that pitch is going to be low. 2-0 the count now. Hebert coming in to bat for the Jags. And that pitch finds the inside corner for strike 1. 2-1 the count now to Hebert. And that one grounded over to the second baseman. Gatson has it, and the throw to first will be in time for the final out. However, that final out comes a little bit too late after the damage has already been done, as Kutencooler comes through with a big-time grand slam and gives the Jags a 3-run lead as we head to the bottom of the 9th. And it has been quite the back and forth here as the East Atlanta Santas jumped out to a 6-1 lead, and that lead was taken back by the Jags back when Dawson Szymanski hit a grand slam. Shortly after, the East Atlanta Santas gained the lead back again and slowly built on it until that last inning when Bo Kutencooler hit the second grand slam of the game for the Jags. And if you were ever wondering why he's the captain of the team, that's why. One of the biggest moments for the Jags in this game, and he just proved himself in a big way. He's also one of the first guys off the board for the Stars as far as recruitment goes. He'll be playing in Monticello next year, along with fellow SouthArk Stars that have already moved on, Leighton Tuberville and Rock Hawthorne. We would also I'd be remiss if I did not mention our former pitcher, Trey Miller, that is also a part of the UAM baseball team. And so McKenzie is back out on the mound for the Jags here in the ninth. And if he can keep the lead at 3, he will go down with a win tonight as well as a save. And this a big ball game filled with back and forth drama. And coming up to bat is the 1, 2, and 3 of the East Atlanta Santas. And the first pitch fastball low and away to Kenner Lutterbach. 1-0. And that pitch is outside. 2-0. And another pitch low. 3-0 the count now from Colin McKenzie. And Kenner can now be a little bit more selective with his pitches. And he'll take the fastball down the middle. 3-1 now. And that one's lined into center field. And Powell charges in. And they're going to say that it hit the ground. They're going to say that it hit the ground. So Lauterbach safe with a leadoff single here in the ninth. And that is a big call from the umpire. Runner on first to start the inning. And that'll bring up the team captain, Kyle Tolley. We saw how Bo Kutenkooler, the captain for his team, came through in a big moment. We'll see how Kyle Tolley can fare. He's already come through in a big moment once today, and we'll see if he can do it again. And that curveball inside, and Tolley kind of bends out of the way of it. 1-0. And that one is popped up down the first base side. Hebert in foul territory. He falls down, and it's going to fall in foul territory as Hebert tripped on his way to get it and unable to recover in time. So the 1-1 now, and that we'd like to say that we're going to hope that that doesn't come back to bite the Jags here in the ninth inning. And Tolley with new life here following the misplay in foul territory. 1-1. And that one looked to have crossed up the catcher. Not really sure what he was expecting there. But that ball is low. 2-1. And that one is fouled straight back. 2-2. So a big AB for Tolley now. 2-2, nobody out, and a runner on first here in the bottom of the ninth. And McKenzie on the mound for the Jags. He came in last inning and was able to keep the score where it was, allowing for them to come back and score and kind of put this game down into the bottom of the ninth. And following that pass ball, Lauterbach will move up to second base. Full count. Nobody out and a runner on second. And with how fast Lauterbach and Tolley are, you really don't want to have them running the bases in this situation. And that one is going to be low for ball 4. So McKenzie now, a leadoff single and now a leadoff and then a walk. There'll be runners at first and second, nobody out. And we're going to have time called as Foss heads out to have a word with McKenzie. And haven't really seen any action out of their bullpen, so they're going to try and have him go the rest of the way. We just would hope that they don't make the same mistakes that Dempster and the East Atlanta Santas made by leaving him out there too long. At this point, it's your game to lose, really. So uh, it's important to play the strategy for the series, but also a win is a win right now in a 3-game set. So if it's within your grasp, you really want to go and take it. And Ambrose comes up to bat now, representing the tying run. And that curveball is going to be taken for ball 1. And another curveball, this one low, and Murphy able to kind of keep it around him. 2-0 the count as the runners stay put where they are. And this is a really big moment for McKenzie. The first time he's really been put in this game-winning situation. Very high leverage, high pressure situation. Ambrose, no stranger to it, however. And he will take that one down the middle for strike 1. So this is really kind of where you see what certain guys are made of whenever you throw them into the fire like this. And Foss certainly showing confidence in McKenzie and his abilities. And that one is swung on and fouled back. And just like that, it's now a tied count, 2-2. So a 2-2 count, nobody out, and runners on first and second for Ambrose. And that pitch is inside, and that'll run the count full, 3-2 now to Ambrose. So the payoff pitch coming up. And that one's lined back up the middle. It's going to get through, and Powell will take it. He'll bobble it in center, and a run will come around to score, but Tolley will be content to stay at second. So there'll still be runners at first and second following the RBI single from Jacob Ambrose. And he'll cut the lead down now to 2, and nobody out. And they'll bring in the cleanup hitter now, Justin Szymanski. It's been a rather quiet day for him at the plate, and he'd like to kind of change that here. He represents the winning run at the plate. And that one finds the inside part of the plate for strike 1. And we'll see if after that quick little debacle, McKenzie can kind of clear his thoughts and come back and attack the hitters. And that curveball bounces towards home plate, evens things up at 1 apiece. And that fastball finds the zone knee high. 1-2 the count now. And that fastball fouled straight back and out of play. Things will stay where they are at 1-2. And we'll see how McKenzie decides to attack Szymanski after he seemed to kind of be a little bit late on the fastball, as he's mostly worked fastball, curveball here today. And that one's up and in, and he will be struck out swinging for the first out here in the bottom of the 9th. So a big strikeout for McKenzie as he's able to avoid the cleanup spot, but that will bring in the left fielder, Ty Simonelli. Simonelli, a very experienced hitter in his own right. A transfer from Bossier Parish his freshman year. And he'll come in representing the winning run. Tolley 180 feet from home plate at second base. And that first pitch changeup is going to be low and away, ball 1. And McKenzie likely trying to induce that ground ball to the shortstop with that pitch, but Simonelli lays off. He's a pretty selective hitter at the plate as he takes that one low. 2-0 the count. Really likes to attack. However, he really likes to attack now, however, as of late. But really only wants to attack when he sees his pitch. And that fastball is going to be up. So a quick 3-0 count now to Simonelli. So a big moment. And the pitch from McKenzie. And that one's going to be ball 4 on 4 straight pitches. And that'll load up the bases now with 1 out. And, I mean, at this point, you really want to just try and induce contact. If you can really just kind of keep the contact weak, you're almost guaranteed to get that second out. And now a little bit more tactical decision coming in from the East Atlanta Santas. Coming in to pinch run for Jacob Ambrose at second base is Wes Honeycutt. Honeycutt, the tying run. And so if he can reach home on a single, it's going to be a big deal for the East Atlanta Santas as that curveball bounces towards home plate, 1-0. And a fastball that time right down Main Street, 1-1. And Cam Laverne now batting for the East Atlanta Santas. If he can keep the bat going here, it's going to be a big moment as he swings on that fastball once again. 1-2. And a big moment for Laverne as he's hit quite a few home runs in his college career. And he will strike out on the fastball inside. And that will be the second out of the ball game, or of the 9th inning. And now the Jags just 1 out away from securing a Game 1 win here in the Fall World Series. And now stepping in will be Al Gatson. And that one is fouled down the right field line. 0-1 the count now to Gatson. And McKenzie probably working with a little bit more confidence than he had been, knowing that just 1 out is needed now. And that one fouled back as well. So a quick 0-2 count now to Gatson. And McKenzie not really messing around like he was earlier in the inning. And this could be a big moment. And that one is hit into center field. Tanner Powell calling for it. And he will make the play as the Jags secure their first win of the Fall World Series by a score of 14-12. We would like to thank you for joining us. Game 2, first pitch will be 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon here at Schoolboy Rowe Field. We'd like to ask you to join us in person. If not, you can always join us here on YouTube. I believe the live stream has already been made up for tomorrow's game. With that, we'd like to say thank you and